Okay, if you didn't notice, that set was really long because it was musical birthdays and this week in musical history. And in that set, we seen the first clip was from the 1989 release of the Doors, Mind Bomb. We seen Beaten Generation. Also on Monday, June 11th, John Lawton would have been 76. He's the singer for Uriah Heep. He died at 74 last year. Bonnie Pointer, the Pointer Sisters, would have been 72. She died at 69 2 years ago. Brought us to our second clip, Peter Murphy, the singer for Bauhaus and solo stuff. He turned 65 on Monday the 11th, and he did Cuts You Up. Ronnie Sambora, guitar player for Bon Jovi, turned 63. Brings us to our next clip. Suzanne Vega did Tom's Diner with DNA. She turned 63 on Monday the 11th also, as did Algie Ward, bass player for Tank and the Damned. This brings us to Tuesday the 12th, which 40 years ago, The Cure released their only single from the Pornography album, Hanging Garden. Christine McVie turned 79. She's from Fleetwood Mac. Kiss's Eric Carr would have been 72. He died at 41, 31 years ago. Philip Kramer, bass player for Iron Butterfly, would have been 70. He died at 42, 27 years ago. And John Petrucci turned 55. He's the guitar player for Dream Theater. Which brings us to Wednesday the 13th and our fourth clip. Killing Joke from their fourth album released in 1983, Fire Dancers, doing Welcome to the Fire Dance. And then also on that day, Susie released Face to Face 30 years ago. Roger McGuinn, the singer for the Byrds, turned 80. Louise Mandrell, Barbara Mandrell's sister, also country, turned 63. Mark Animal Mendoza, he from the Dictators and Twisted Sister, bass player, he turned 66. That brings us to our next clip, number 5, which we seen Ministry from their fifth album, released 30 years ago. Psalm 69, The Way to Succeed and The Way to Suck Eggs. They did Jesus Built My Hot Rod. Let's see. That brings us to Thursday the 14th. Tanya Donnelly turned 56. She was in Belly, Breeders, and Throwing Muses. We seen her doing the clip from Belly, Geppetto. Woody Guthrie would have been 110. The folk guy, he died at 55 years ago. Jim Gordon, the drum, he played drums for Derek and the Dominoes, Joe Cocker, and Traffic, is 77. Which brings us to clip 7. Talking Heads doing Warning Sign from the album released 33 years ago, Songs About Buildings and Food. And yeah, we seen Warning Sign from that. So, and then right after that was the 8th clip of Devo doing Girl You Want, because Bob Casale would have been 70. He was the keyboard player for Devo. He died at 61 8 years ago. Dan Reynolds, 35, singer for Imagine Dragons. That brings us to Friday the 15th. Linda Ronstadt turned 76. Peter Banks, guitar player for Yes, would have been 75. He died at 65 9 years ago. Rocky Erickson from the 13th Floor Elevators in his solo stuff, he would have been 75. He died at 71 3 years ago. Artemis Pyle, drummer for Leonard Skinner, turned 74. And that brings us to our next video clip. Trevor Horn from the Buggles and Yes turned 73 on Friday the 15th, and we seen the Buggles doing Video Kills the Radio Star. And then that brought us to clip 10. Johnny Thunders of the New York Dolls and solo stuff. He'd have been 70, but he died at 38, 31 years ago. We seen him doing Chinese rocks and You Can't Put Your Arm Around a Memory. Chinese rocks, naturally, with the Heartbreakers. Okay. Then we seen Marky Ramone, who turned 70, in a band I didn't know that he was in before the Ramones, Richard Hell's Blank Generation, doing the song Blank Generation at CBGB's. Okay. Which brings us to David Pack, singer for Ambrosia. He turned 70. Alicia Bridges, the disco queen, 69. Joe Satriani, the guitar player, 68. That brought us to our next clip. Ian Curtis, the singer for Joy Division, would have been 66. But he died at 23. Well, he took his life at 23, 42 years ago. Jason Bonham would have been Jason Bonham did turn 56 on the 15th, which was Friday. I almost thought it was his dad there for a second, but Jason, not John. Okay. That brings us to Saturday the 16th, which 40 years ago, Killing Joke released Revelations. Stuart Copeland turned 70, the drummer for The Police. Then we, last but not least, today, Sunday the 17th, Mick Tucker would have been 75. He was 54 when he died 20 years ago. He was the drum player for Sweet. Ronnie Ashton would have been 74, but he died at 60, 13 years ago. He was the guitar player for the Stooges. Geezer Butler, the bass player for Black Sabbath, is 72. Phoebe Snow is 72. Or she would have been 72, but she died at 60, 11 years ago. And I didn't know this girl died. Nicolette Larson would have been 70 today, but she died at 45, 25 years ago. Gonna take a lot of love to change the way things are. Bruce Crump would have been 59. He died at 56 3 years ago. He was the drummer for Molly Hatchet. And last but not least, our clip. One of my longtime crushes, no longer with us, Kim Shattuck. We seen the Muffs doing Weird Boy Next Door. She would have been 59 today, but she died at 56 3 years ago, sadly. Kim Shattuck. What a gal. Man. And one of the best screamers I ever heard. Okay, that wraps up this week in musical history. On with the show.